Good morning to the chairman of Indian Chemical Council and other dignitaries of ICC and industry participants. On behalf of PCRA team, I would like to welcome you all for the presentation on emerging technologies for energy conservation in chemical industries. I am R. Nesamani and I am the joint director in PCRA Chennai. I am a certified energy auditor, have done more than 30 energy audits and 5 PAT audits for big designated consumers. And I am the energy management system lead. Today, I will present my learnings about the technologies which will reduce the energy bill considerably. These technologies are not famous, but their performance is proven. I have added case studies from energy audits of PCRA and BEE to support the credibility of these technologies. This presentation will discuss 8 technologies, mostly on waste heat recovery to reduce the energy bill, which are applicable for any industries, particularly applicable for chemical industries. I will be able to complete this presentation within 40 minutes. During the presentation, if you have any query, please put it in chat box. We will discuss after the presentation. Today's topic is on emerging technologies for energy conservation in chemical industries. I have already introduced myself. I am Arne Samani, certified energy auditor and ANMS lead auditor. So I'm at PCRA Chennai at present. So the table of contents of our today's presentation will be like introduction about our my company PCRA, and first technology is like they will discuss about heat recovery from compressors, loss from compressor drains, VFD installation for cooling tower fan, replace cooling tower fan aluminum blades with FRP blades, replacing the chiller water with the cooling tower water, heat recovery from chillers, installing a air preheater and economics in small boilers. Finally, we will discuss about biomass gasifier. So I will start my presentation with the quote from Mr. Barack Obama, the ex-president of USA. He said that the easiest way to save money is to waste less energy. Means you can't make the wastage to zero, but you can reduce the wastage to certain extent so that our companies will be in competitiveness will increase. So why energy conservation is very important for our country particularly. So first thing is that population. So our country has is the largest populated country, one of the largest we can say after China. So population is day by day it is increasing. So if as the population increases, the energy consumption also will increase, as well as GDP, gross domestic product, also need to be increased every year because we can't go into deflation. So for increasing the GDP, we need a energy. If you see the curve over the years from 2003 to 2011, this blue line is a GDP and energy consumption is this bar graph. If you see, GDP is directly proportional with the energy consumption. Means if you want to increase your GDP, energy consumption also will increase. As the energy consumption at present, our country is largely dependent on fossil fuels. So because of that, the happen like CO2 emissions and global warming. So what is the solution we have? We can't reduce the energy consumption because our GDP will go down. So this solution is that only we can have a energy conservation through advanced technologies. We have to move ahead after a basic level of technologies so that we will have a more energy savings. So this is the introduction about PCRA. PCRA is Petroleum Conservation Research Association, which is an organization under Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas. The vision of our company is to become a center of excellence for energy conservation. To achieve this vision, our jobs include, like for industry sector, we do trainings to industries on energy conservation techniques. We conduct walkthrough on energy audits, and we conduct full energy audits for the industries. We give a consultancy to implement ISO 50001. This is the energy management standard. If you implement this standard, the continual improvement of your energy performance is guaranteed. So this is our PCRA India YouTube link and Twitter link. If you visit, you will regularly getting update on energy conservation. So first topic of discussion will be on air compressors. The common quote is like air is free, but compressed air is not free. Why, we will see. This is the energy balance diagram of air compressor. If you give 100 kilowatt, for example, 100 kilowatt of power as an input to compressors, the 80% of input power will be lost in the form of heat of compression, and 5% will be lost in mechanical process. So 15% will be the output in the form of pressurized air. But that also being wasted almost in 15% also, almost 50% is waste in the form of leakages. So at the end of the day, finally only 50% means only 7.5 kilowatt of the input power we will be getting in the form of compressed air. This is the heat distribution, heat balance diagram of the compressed air line. If 100% is given in the form of electrical energy, 9% will be wasted in the form of motor heating, and 72% is we used to give a cooling water or oil cooler that will carry the 72% of the heat, and only 4% of the heat produced by an air compressor ends up in the compressed air. The other 96% is being wasted at present. So what is the solution? Means if you are giving 100% input power, but only heat is carried with the compressed air only 4%. The remaining we are wasting at present. So is there a solution for this problem? Yes, there is a solution. Heat recovery options are there for compressed air systems. We will discuss how the circuit diagram. Before that, what are the options? What are the constraints in that? We will discuss. The quantity of heat recovered energy will vary as per the load. If the loading of the compressor reduces, the heat energy also heat recovery will also come down. And before finalizing heat recovery plan, we have to find the demand. Whether we have a demand, whether we need a boiler feed water or any other heat demand for a cooling system. Do we have a constant demand for heat? Then only we can install this heat recovery option. And the heat recovery quantity also will vary as per the type of compressor. Standard oil-free compressors are best suited for applying this heat recovery options, because it will generate water temperatures of up to 90 degrees Celsius, which can be used in as a boiler feed water or any other purpose. If you see on oil lubricated compressors, the oil which will take away some heat, so it will limit the possibility of heat recovery and water temperatures. In centrifugal compressors, the temperature levels are generally lower because the pressure ratios in each stage will be lesser. So it will limit the degree of heat recovery. Means heat recovery will not be that much. As per BEE, waterborne waste energy recovery is best suited to compressors with electric motor power above 50 HP. Not be if you install the water heat recovery system below 50 HP, we will not be getting a good payback period. So waterborne recovery requires a more complex installation, obviously, because we need a water pump and a heat exchanger like that, compared with the airborne water waste heat recovery. Heat can be distributed to ovens. For if you take away heat through air, we can use it in ovens. If it is a water, we can use it in boilers. So what is the heat recovery potential? From the kilowatt, we can say that almost 60% of the power can be recovered in the form of heat. One sample calculation I have put up for easily understanding that, for example, if it is a 110 kilowatt compressor, we can have a heat of 1.7 lakhs kilowatt hour per year per annum. It will have a reduction in cost of almost 11 lakhs. As per BE's energy audit report, 250 CFM compressor at 60% loading, because in no compressor will always be in 100% load. Load will be varying continuously. So for optimum, we have taken a 60% loading. Can save almost 12 to 15 tons of oil equivalent per year of energy, which is equal to almost 9 lakhs per annum. The investment cost of heat recovery system in compressor is 2 lakhs. So payback period is around 4 months. This is the one case study to support the technology. The company is a Lupin Pharma. What they did is they have a two-stage compressor. They have implemented this heat recovery system. After the first stage, the soft water at ambient temperature will go inside. Through heat exchanger, it will extract the heat. Then it will go to second stage exit, and it will again extract the heat, so that the common header, through common header, both the stage waters will combine, and it will go to the boiler for feed water. They were able to achieve almost 87 degrees Celsius temperatures in feed water, means a gain of 57 degrees Celsius. So hot water flow was almost 14 KL per hour. Heat load, heat recovery was almost 4 lakh kilocalories per hour. So they could achieve almost 1.2 crores per annum. Because of this external heat addition in the boiler, they could reduce the fuel of almost 260 metric tons per year. This is the one YouTube video. After that, you can search in YouTube and you can watch it. If they have detailed how it works and what are the benefits, and further they have detailed. B is video it is. So the second technology will be about compressor drain valve air loss. If you see, we for every compressor, obviously without compressor, no industry can work. Means almost, particularly chemical industry, 100% all industries will have a compressor, because that is a basic utility which is used for many purposes. So if you observe that there will be a drain valve in the container, means this reservoir, air reservoir will have a drain valve. As well as in between the lines also, they used to have a drain valves. The purpose of the drain valve is like removing the excess moisture in the compressed air, so that if the excess moisture is carried away with the air, it will corrode the pipelines as well as the instruments. So that is the purpose of drain valves. But actually what happens, we'll see. Type of drain valves. One is a manual operated drain valve, means the shift person will be operating it every shift or once in a day, like that. Second is a timer based. In this, what happens for we set a timer in the valve. Like for every 5 minutes, the valve will open for 3 minutes, 3 seconds, like that. And third is auto sensing drain valves. If you observe this manual operated drain valves and timer based drain valves, with the moisture will obviously go out while opening that valve, but with the moisture, high pressure air also will be going out. In one of the industry which we have audited, we observed that they required a air consumption of almost 690 CFM, and they have a drain valves, and it was a timer based drain valves. The drain valves were set for every 5 minutes, drain valve will open for 3 seconds. Now here, the important point is that we have to analyze whether the timing set is correct or not. The timing needs to be set as per the moisture levels and humidity at that area. So now the timing should not be standard across the country. So I have tried to calculate the loss. Whenever it opened, it started to push out a little bit moisture with the air. So I tried to calculate the how much loss, air loss it was happening. So what I did is I took a humidity at 70% at that area. For every pressure, we will get a humidity water level in the air. So I took an atmospheric water level as well as the high pressure water level. So the difference will be the water condensed in the cooler. So for every that small hole will be there. That was like a 12 mm drain was there. So at 7 bar, what will be the flow, air flow? I have calculated using the BE book. So if you calculate everything, as per the specific energy consumption of compressor, we lose almost 70 CFM of air with the moisture for every hour because of the drain valves. So that comes into rupees like almost 6 lakhs of loss will be there per year. So almost 93,000 units will be lost because of the opening. So what is the solution? So the solution is we have a zero air loss auto drain valve. Zero air loss auto drain valve. The technology is it will have a means it will sense the moisture level and it will automatically discharge the moisture. So the company name is like Aurobindo Pharma. We have taken a case study of their achievement. They have implemented this no air loss drain valves in air compressors, and they could achieve almost 32,000 units of electricity. It cost pay with the payback of only 3 months. So total amount was like 0.21 million they have achieved in the form of energy savings. So this is the second technology. And third is, one second. Once again, some watermarking has happened. I don't know how it happened. I'll close this this one and I will share it. Yeah. Third technology or the emerging technologies installing a VFD drive in for cooling tower fans. If you observe, most of the chemical industries have a cooling tower for chillers or for any other process requirements. If you observe that the cooling tower fans will be constantly running. So this is a one case study about one of our the energy audit which we have conducted. what we observed that cooling tower fan was continuously running irrespective of the temperatures. So what we suggested is like we suggested to install a VFD drive in cooling tower fans. It will operate the fans as per the some temperature. So the cost of the VFD was like almost we took a offer also from one of the vendor. The cost was uh, almost 54,000 per drive, including sensors, temperature sensors, everything. So if we calculated this one energy saving, it was less. The payback was less than 1 year. So this is one of the good solution for energy conservation in chemical industries, particularly in cooling tower. And fourth option is like replacing the aluminum blades with FRP blades in cooling towers. We have observed that cooling towers are operating, fans are operating with the aluminum blades, which is heavier than the FRP blades. Because of the heaviness, the load will increase on motor and power consumption will be more. So we suggested to replace that with the FRP blades. So I have a case study of Aurobindo Pharma. They have replaced the aluminum blades by FRP blades in cooling towers, and they have achieved almost 75,000 units of electricity, which is equal to almost 0.49 millions rupees of savings. Payback was very less, only 4.3 months. And fifth and important thing is that method is like replacing chilled water with cooling tower water. In most of the industries, particularly automobile industries, during the audit, which we have observed that they used to have these molding machines. There, for cooling the molding machines, they used to use a chilled water at 9 degrees Celsius. So, but we need to analyze whether the chilled water is necessary for the process or any equipment. Because if you see the OEM manual, the temperature requirement may be 25 to 30 degrees Celsius is enough. But for extra security, they give a highly chilled water. So many times industries use the chilled water at 9 degrees Celsius for process, which required only 25 to 38 degrees Celsius, resulting into the energy waste. Why we are worried about not to use chilled water? Because specific energy consumption of chiller is very high. Means it was for 120 tonner, which is actually during the audit we have calculated. This chiller SEC is 1.8 kilowatt per ton, which is more than the SEC of cooling tower, which is only 0.22 kilowatt per ton. Means for every ton, chiller consumes almost 1.6 kilowatt more energy than the cooling tower. So what is the solution? Solution is the case study of Cosmo Films Limited, Vadodara. What they did is like they have analyzed product wise cooling tower temperature requirement is identified. And they observed that almost 60% of their process can run on cooling tower temperature water instead of chilled water. Means at higher temperature they can run. That was not a problem. So they modified a pipe so that if they need a temperature, they can combine both waters so that the process is not disturbed. They have saved energy of almost 1.4 lakhs per month of energy they have saved because of this modification. So this is one of the best thing. Means we used to search for energy conservation here and there, like we'll see the motor efficiency, those things. But if you see the process now, you will get a more energy savings. So sixth point is like a heat recovery from chillers. So if you see the chiller or HVAC process diagram, refrigerant flow diagram, This is in pressure is in vertical line and enthalpy is in horizontal line. If you see that the evaporation will take place at a constant pressure, at low pressure, means the liquid refrigerant after condensation, it enters here at low pressure and it gets vaporized to vapor, because it will become a vapor. Here only we used to install a cooling coil, means a chilled water will be entering here and it will remove it will give away its heat to refrigerant, and it will get chilled and it will go to the process or HVAC system, AHU. So the hot refrigerant vapor will enter the compressor and it gets during the compression heat is added to the refrigerant, so that its pressure also will increase as well as the temperature also will increase. Means the refrigerant will reach the superheated level here. After superheated refrigerant that comes out from compressor, it will enter the condenser for cooling. The phase change will occur here, means high pressure vapor will become a high pressure liquid after the condenser. So here the chance is there for a heat recovery, means this high superheat which is not necessary for a condenser. Means here we will have a superheater installed in the chillers. What it will do, it will recover the superheat temperatures, so that the temperature will come down while entering the condenser. What are the advantages? We'll see. This is the examples of the chiller screw compressor wise, how much will be the discharge pressure temperatures. Reciprocating compressors will have a highest discharge temperature because of specific will have a little less, 80 degrees Celsius it will reach. So this is the installing a superheater in chiller schematic diagram. The compressor output refrigerant will go in normal scenario, it will go here, and oil separator will be there, because the compressor will have a oil cooler for bearings and normal also. That oil will anyway get mixed with the refrigerant and it will be carried with the refrigerant here. We have to remove that oil using the oil separator. Otherwise, if that oil is getting carried away with the refrigerant to condenser, what it will happen? It will foul the condensers. So heat transfer will not be proper, as well as we need to take a maintenance frequently. So the suggested scenario is like installing a superheater. So at one of the locations, the temperatures are, I have taken from one of the case studies. The case study was like the discharge temperature was almost 120 degrees Celsius. So the superheater is nothing but a normal heat exchanger, where cold water is getting in at normal 30 degrees Celsius, and they could achieve a hot water output of almost 80 degrees Celsius. The exit of the refrigerant will be only 45 degrees Celsius. At low temperature, they have observed that it was easy to remove the oil, so that the maintenance cost of condenser also have come down, and heat transfer also very good. As well as the biggest advantage is that because of these low temperatures, heat load required to be removed in the condenser have come down considerably, because it means fan needed to run a little slower, or time has reduced. Thereby they have a very good power consumption here also. So here we have a heat recovery, here we will have a less maintenance and less power consumption. So where do they use this heat water? They have used, many industries have used in boilers for boiler feed water, and many of the hotels they have installed, and chemical industries they have installed for their process requirements. Hotels, what happens during the hotels used to install a solar plant for giving a bathroom hot water requirements. But during the early mornings, what happens? Solar will not be sufficient to provide a heat. So, but in early morning, hot water requirements is used to be very high. So they used to supplement the solar plant with the normal electricity heaters. They have replaced that electricity heaters with this one because chiller used to run whole day. The heat recovery, hot water recovered from this superheater is sent to the room bathroom water supply. So they had a very good savings. This is a heat recovery potential of for every even ammonia and 410 for all refrigerant we have a potential. I have, for the sake of just explaining, I have taken only one sample R22 systems. For every condensing temperature and discharge temperature of compressor, this much almost 1875 kilocal per hour per kilowatt. So kilowatt means capacity. We need to multiply the capacity with the actual kilowatt. This much of heat they could recover. These are the two case studies. One is the Sudarshan Chemical Industries Limited. They have a 25-ton chiller. Water inlet temperature is almost 25 degrees Celsius, and outlet they could achieve at 58, almost 33 degrees Celsius increase in water. And water flow they could achieve 500 liters per hour. So thereby they could achieve a saving of almost 8 lakhs per annum. The payback, the cost of the unit is like almost 4.5 lakhs approximately. So the payback period was only 6 months, means less than a year. So second is a Nicholas Piramal India Limited. They have a 2 into 25-ton chiller unit. So they have achieved almost 13 lakhs of savings, and the payback was only 8 months. So to support the technology, we have a BE energy audit report also of BE has conducted an energy audit of chemical cluster at WAPI. They have suggested for installing D superheater in 50 tons chiller system. So the monetary savings they said that this hot water will be given to the boiler for feed water as a feed water. So per annum they could achieve a fuel savings in the form of 2 lakhs. The payback period is like almost 24 months. So this is about the D superheaters in the chiller. And the next is we will be seeing about boiler, performance assessment of the boiler. So what do we do in the performance assessment of boiler? We do calculate the efficiency of the boiler and compare it with the design efficiency. And we'll find the losses and calculate the losses, various losses which will affect the efficiency of the boiler. And we will optimize the energy usage by changing and correcting the parameters, boiler operating parameters. This is myself taking a reading, O2 reading at one of the 310 boilers. This is a boiler heat balance diagram. If we give 100% fuel as a input energy to the boiler, the efficiency will be 73%. That will be that heat will be in the steam. What are the losses? If you see, highest loss is almost 12%. It is due to loss due to dry flue gas because of stake temperature. If you keep stake temperatures high, this loss will be increasing further. And second is a heat loss due to steam in flue gas, because the steam in the flue gas which will absorb some amount of good heat from the fuel, thereby losing our efficiency. Almost 8.1% will be lost in the steam due to flue gas. Third is a heat loss due to moisture in the fuel, which is almost 1.7%. Fourth is a heat loss due to moisture in the air, which is 0.3%. Heat loss due to unburns in residues. This is for solid fuels, means biomass or coal, which is normally at 2.4%, but it will vary obviously. And the radiation and unaccounted loss will be 1%. If you see the formulas of calculating all these losses, heat loss due to dry flue gas and heat loss due to steam in flue gas and due to moisture in fuel and due to moisture in air, these four losses, which will account almost to 12 plus 18, and this one 22% of the loss will be proportional to the stack temperature. Means if you increase the stack temperature, this loss, this 22% will keep on increase. If you reduce the stack temperature, we can recover some amount of energy from these losses. Thereby, this total efficiency of the boiler will increase. So what is the solution? This is a typical boiler where fuel enters and through FD fan, air enters. The outlet will be flue gas, waste flue gas, which goes to stack, and product will be like steam. Water in the water walls will get converted into steam, and it will go to process or turbine. Anything. Input will be boiler feed water. This will be converted to steam. BE has suggested to install a APH and economizer for small boilers, because small boilers of 3-ton capacities, 2-ton capacity doesn't come up with APH or economizer. If you see the thermal power plants boilers of high capacity, it is by default these both equipments are attached. But BE has done an energy audit, and they have found that installing the air preheater and economizer, which will have a great impact on their fuel consumption. Means it will reduce the fuel consumption. The standard is that for every 6 degrees Celsius in feed water temperature, the fuel consumption will reduce by 1%. Here for boiler, we give a boiler feed water. If in normal, actually we have PCRA has done energy audits of rice mill clusters in Tamil Nadu. We observed that they also do not have a air preheater and economizer. What they do is like the boiler feed water used to be sent at this normal temperature. Instead of sending that at normal temperature, if you increase the temperature by 6 degrees Celsius, fuel consumption will reduce by 1%. For air, if you increase the air temperature by 21 degrees Celsius, the fuel consumption will reduce by 1%. So as per a BE report, if stack temperature is 240 degrees Celsius, the boiler feed water temperature can be raised to 80 degrees Celsius, and the air temperature can be raised to 100 degrees Celsius. So this is the BE energy audit report. This is not clear, so I will explain that. This is they have done on a 3-ton boiler. Temperature of the feed water is 35 degrees Celsius, but flue gas temperature, means stack temperature, is almost 240 degrees Celsius. We have a buffer. Why don't we? What is the constraint to reduce the temperature? Is only sulfur corrosion. So taking that into consideration, we have to reduce the flue gas temperature, implementing economizer. They could achieve a rise in feed water temperature by economizer to 62 degrees. From the feed water temperature has been increased to 62 degrees Celsius. So it will have it had a energy savings of almost 14 lakhs per annum. Cost of the economizer was 1.8 lakhs. So payback was like less than 2 months. So second is that about air preheater, the flue gas temperature was 240 and sulfur dew point temperature 120. So considering that, they could reduce the temperature of stack, so that air temperature they could achieve almost 62 degrees Celsius. It resulted in a cost saving of almost 2.68 lakhs per year, Cost of the air preheater is 2 lakh. So payback was less than a year, 8.9 months only.
Okay.
This is one example of about one industry, Simandar Fabtex Private Limited, Poly. What they did is like they have implemented this air preheater and they have achieved very good savings in energy. Like the cost was cost of air preheater is only 2 lakhs, and its annual energy saving was 15 tons per ton of oil equivalent. So this is the video about the air preheater and at various industries where they have installed at small boilers. So you can see after that. So final thing is that final technology we will be discussing is about biomass gasifier for thermal applications. So what is a biomass? Biomass is nothing but a wood chips. How the gas is generated? Wood, if you ignite without much oxygen, what it happens is drying will take place and pyrolysis process will take place. This drying and pyrolysis will result into a flammable gas. So 1 kg of biomass will give almost 3 meter cube of gas. Gas GCV is almost 1200 kilocal per meter cube. So biomass, one biomass GCV is like 3600 kilocal per kg. So 3 kg of biomass can replace 1 liter of furnace oil in energy GCV terms. See, the biomass cost is almost 5 rupees, but this furnace oil cost is 30 rupees per liter. So if you calculate 50%, the cost wise, the biomass is only 50% lesser than the furnace oil. Where it is mostly used in silk processing and large cardamom drying are the few examples of the applications. For thermal applications such as water heating, hot air generation, or drying, cooking, and steam generation, the cost of useful energy through gasification is 60% lesser than the furnace oil or diesel, and 80% lesser than using the electricity, as per TERI article. Actually, TERI promotes biomass gasifier. They have installed at various cluster of industries, small industries, and this is the video about this one. We have an article also by TERI about the advantages of biomass gasifier. Biomass being a carbon neutral, so we will not be having any impact on CO2 emissions. That is the biggest advantage using a biomass. As well as this biomass gas is being used for running a generator also in foreign countries. So this is technology is coming up slowly. Only next we'll see. This is a B also supported using a biomass in one of the case study from at chemical cluster at Vapi. The steam generation and thermic oil heating by wood gasifier is economical and efficient. Further, the wood is available in plenty in the area. This needs to be taken seriously, because if your location have access to good quality wood, then only you can switch over. Otherwise, it will have a problem, because transportation, that cost will add further. So it is recommended to install wood gasifier. The cost benefit analysis of wood gasifier for a typical unit is as below. The capacity of the boiler plus thermopack of one industry is like a 300 plus 6 lakh kilocal. For that, the fuel cost, presently they were using a furnace oil. The fuel cost per batch was like 1148 per hour, rupees per hour. If they replace with the fuel furnace oil with the gasifier system, the energy cost per batch will come down to only 461 rupees per hour. So the monetary savings in energy is energy cost is almost 687 rupees per hour. So investment will be like 15 lakhs. So payback period will be less than 3 years. So if we are concerned about the fossil fuels and CO2 emission levels, those problems, then surely this is the best option. We can have a switchover. So these are the 8 methodologies which during this short time I could able to explain. Other than that, we have other energy efficiency methods also industries suggested is one is replacing a V belts with cogged belts to reduce a slippage loss. The second is operating a lights using a motion sensor at common areas like admin, canteen, and toilets. VFD installation for motors of varying loads and insulation improvement to reduce radiation loss for in boilers or furnace or any heat carrying equipments, pipelines. And the efficient pumping system also will have a very good effect. And finally, the solar pipe for daylighting. This is also a good technology we can use for industries, daylighting system.
Lighting. Yeah.
That's all. Yes, sir. That's all, sir. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. If you have any question, please put it in chat box. We will have a discussion.
Hello, sir. Myself, Chetan Pandya.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to know that what should be the distribution loss of steam at 16 bar pressure.
Okay. Sir, no, it was not audible clearly. What was the which loss you are asking?
Distribution loss after generation
Yeah.
to user distribute to end user. What will be the distribution loss?
Distribution.
Like trap loss, like insulation loss.
Yes, yes.
What is the standard of distribution loss?
In Steam system, it will be 2%, sir, mostly. I remember. As per BE,
Okay.
it will be 2%.
Okay. Including trap loss.
Trap.
Including trap loss. 2% is including trap loss.
Steam traps you are telling, no?
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
it
exactly.
will it will be higher. I'm telling about only the radiation. However, you insulate the piping, there will always be a loss which we cannot control. That percentage I'm telling. If traps, we need to have a this one, sir, evaluation, because I have observed that during our audits, most of the traps now they used to have a leakage that we can easily find out using a thermal gun by observing a pre and post temperature of the traps, steam traps. That is the biggest losses it happens in the industries.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Welcome.
My second question is,
okay. Yes, sir.
If all traps are working fine,
okay,
then what will be the standard trap loss?
Standard trap loss, if all traps are 100% working fine, you are telling?
Yeah, exactly.
Giving a moisture, that will not be possible, because some condensate, the hot temperature, condensate will have a temperature.
Okay.
High temperature. That will be a loss again. In big industries, what they do is they collect, that is called a condensate recovery.
Yeah, we are also collecting the recovery.
Okay, sir. How much percentage you are recovering, sir?
Right now, we are getting 22% of entire steam generation.
Okay, still 22%, you are getting in a condensate. At what temperature?
At 160-degree temperature of steam supply.
Okay, 160 degrees Celsius. Okay, water only, no? You are telling, huh?
Yeah, we are getting water only.
Okay. Do you add that into feedback loop again? Sorry, feed water loop, or what do you do?
Yeah, we have added in feed water tank.
Okay. Then it is good. Then you are not wasting, because if you are adding that into the loop without losing much energy, then we cannot say that you are losing. If the pipelines are insulated, no?
Yeah, exactly.
Then it is fine, sir. You are in proper question.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
There is a question from TANFAC you can take.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead. Please ask the question. Rajesh Natarajan, you can ask the question.
Sir, good morning, sir, and thanks for the useful presentation. It was very useful to us. We used our energy in sulfuric acid plant to preheat the boiler feed water. So we have two sulfuric acid plant. In one sulfuric acid plant, we already use the energy to preheat the water to boiler feed water for
Okay.
both the process boiler as well as the waste heat recovery boiler.
Okay.
So we have another energy from another plant is there available, but it is not able to use at present because there is no requirement of hot water in any other plant.
Okay.
So what we planned, we put on a vapor absorption machine to produce the
Yes.
chilled water.
Yeah.
So we already placed an order with the Thermax.
Okay.
So here my question is, as an energy auditor, what do you think about the saving energy with the VAM? And what is your experience with the VAM in the hot water system?
Sir, it is good actually. When I was also about to tell that only, because if you have a chiller requirement needs, so this is the good option. What you did is a good option for using the excess hot water in VAM, so that you will have a energy savings. So regarding the operation of VAM, what is the temperature of water, hot water, which you?
So at present, we are able to produce 85 degrees Celsius, sir. That is now at present we are giving to process boiler at the temperature of 85 degrees Celsius.
Okay.
So the same water we designed the VAM also with the Thermax designer, and they designed the temperature of around 80 degrees Celsius.
Okay.
And in the VAM itself, we put one more additional heat exchanger with the steam. So in case of the temperature, if we are not able to attain 80 degrees Celsius, then some amount of steam will go and will increase the temperature to 80 degrees Celsius. So that at any point of time, we can meet the design temperature of VAM. So, and we are also using at present the chilled water to one of our dilute hydrofluoric acid process to cool the process with the chilled water with the vapor compression machine. So we are using RC compressor now to produce the chilled water. So that whole equipment we want to use with the chiller.
Okay, okay, sir. Okay, sir. This is actually this needs to be further evaluated because the data, design data, everything needs to be taken by me. If possible, can you mail me to this mail ID so that I'll be able to reply you the firm solution?
Yes, sir. Sure, sir. Sure.
This is my mail ID. You can please note down.
Yeah, yes.
This is my YouTube channel where I used to post my presentations whenever I do. So if you subscribe, you will be getting this one videos also about energy question.
Okay, sir. And one more question is, we are using the coal boiler for process for the process steam. So at present, because of lot of energy saving, our steam consumption is drastically came down. But what extent it came down means it came down below the. We are not able to reduce the load in the boiler because the boiler turn down ratio we reached up to 10 down ratio. So we don't have the capex to go with the new steam boiler also. So in this scenario, so how we can further able to reduce the load in our coal boiler?
So you can analyze your process requirements. Sir. Most of the time, what happens is the pressure requirements may not be that much, but we may be giving at high pressure. There, so each process now, which we have discussed in chiller example, same like that. If you analyze now, you will surely get some points where we can easily reduce your steam consumption.
Okay,
Rajesh,
thank you.
I suggest you write to ICC. We will have an interaction with
Yes,
Mr.
sir.
Nesamani, and then
Yes.
you can come and see your problem.
All right, sir.
The next question is about FRP blade life. You can talk about that, Mr. Nesamani.
Yes, sir. Life of the FRP blades.
There is a question on that.
Sir,
Is the
you
FRP blade durable and reliable?
okay. FRP blades are being the plastic, obviously it is a durable unless until the loading, sudden heavily, if the loading is not happening, there will not be any problem. Obviously corrosion also will not be there. So I think it's durable, sir.
No, I can share my experience because
Yes, sir.
we replaced the FRP blade 20 years back.
Okay.
So last 20 years, the blades are working
Yeah,
in
fine.
all the Ultratech cement plants.
Yes, yes.
And all, even in all ports. I think life is not a problem. As you rightly said, sometimes it gets damaged, which has to be repaired. Any other question? If there are no other question, I would like to summarize it. Mr. Nesamani has given very simple solutions for factories which are not expensive, easy to implement at low cost, and the return I've seen there normally is less than 1 year. I think it is a good idea to refer any of your problems as far as heat recovery is concerned to Mr. Nesamani, and they will be able to, they'll be too happy to come back to you with solution. In fact, one of the question which I wanted to ask Mr. Nesamani is the air compressor, how to improve the energy efficiency? Because you said 80% of output, and ultimately it's only the 5 to 10% is going. Like in
Yes, sir.
IC engines mobile, is there any research being done to improve the energy efficiency utilization here in compressors? And the related question is, can you contact or give solutions to the compressor manufacturers to
Okay.
install heat recovery plant as a part of the package?
Sure, sir. Okay. Regarding that, I will contact you. Regarding the energy efficiency, because the process itself, the compression process itself generates a heat. That heat is taken from the input power only. So for that, we can replace the reciprocating compressor with the screw compressor, which is comparatively energy efficient than the reciprocating compressor. But still, in that also some losses will be there. My suggestion is like. Anyway, heat of compression can be recovered using what we have discussed today, using a heat recovery only. But most of the industries, I have observed that leakage losses are very high. Like if you calculate the leakage percentage, I have found that almost 80% loss also I have found. Some of the industry means they used to run one compressor separately to fulfill the line network loss. So if every industry takes care and do something about leakage identification and rectifying leakage, that itself will have a very good savings. We have saved lakhs of amount only just by arresting the air leakage in industries.
Even your idea of replacing wherever required, it's of using the chilled water to cool water, I think that itself saves a lot of energy.
Yes.
It's a good idea which you have picked up.
Yes, sir.
Anyway, I think summarizing the presentation, all the 8 topics which you have chosen are very simple, easy,
Yes.
easy identifiable, and you
Yes.
can find a solution for it. So my request to all the participants, energy saving is important subject for the future generation. Please look at your process. Wherever there is a possibility of energy saving, please get up. And if you have any issues, problems, please refer it to Indian Chemical Council, whether it is in Mumbai or in Chennai or in Delhi, and we will identify a concerned expert like Nesamani, for you there. Thank you again. Thank you, Mr. Nelson.
Thank you, sir. Thank you all members for giving your time. Please be in touch. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Next.